It has been too long since we have talked to our buddy Dave Hall of CanucksArmy, who does such a fantastic job tracking the Abbotsford Canucks and Canucks prospects, and there is plenty to talk to on his file, and he joins us now from his abode on Vancouver Island. How are you, Dave? Long time no speak.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Tis the season, prospect stuff, playoff pushes. It's that time.
It's getting real. Well, let's start with the big team then. First of all, what's your confidence level here, buddy, with 15 to go in the schedule that looms for the Vancouver Canucks to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I'd say it's about 50-50. I mean, I heard a couple days ago that apparently they have the quote unquote easiest schedule out of all the teams pushing, but looking at their schedule, they got the Winnipeg Jets twice, they've got the Golden Knights twice, they've got the Avs, the Stars. I mean, they're going to have their work cut out for them to make it. But, they're looking good. I mean, and then obviously they lose the game to Utah, who's in direct competition with them. So it's going to be a grind. It always comes down to this. But I'd say, I don't know, I'm putting at 50-50 right now.
And they do it down a center with Filipino on the shelf for an indeterminate amount of time. And they call up Linus Karlsson from Abby to try and fill some of that forward void. He has had a marvelous AHL season. Is he the quintessential quad A player, though, that it's just not that offense just won't translate to the National Hockey League? Because we haven't really seen many glimpses of that. He seems more offensively orientated than even like a Nils Oman, who has actually performed pretty well and produced pretty well at the AHL level himself. But do you think there is more from Linus Karlsson at the NHL level?
No, I think he is what he is. I think you're going to get what we expect, and that's a gritty player that players hate to play against. Don't get it twisted. Players in the AHL hate playing against Linus Karlsson, and that's just what he brings. If you look at his heat map for all the goals that he scored, he's obviously the all-time franchise leading scorer for Abbotsford. When you look at his heat map of the goals, they're all coming from the exact same spot, and that's right in front of the net. He's a grind, meat and potatoes type of player. Yeah, you might get the occasional production from him at the NHL level, but I think that's what you're getting. But I think for what they need right now, I mean, we look at how they've been, utilizing Lekharimaki, and they obviously just want some bottom six help. So I think Karlsson's the perfect plug-in player for that. But I think that's probably what you can expect, as we've seen from him already at the NHL level. So I was a little surprised to see that it was Linus Karlsson, not because he doesn't deserve the call-up, but I thought that they definitely do need some help down the middle, and there is a player that's playing pretty well down there that is pretty good in the face-off dot that could have helped with that. So,
who's that, Dave? Because I'm on the same wavelength as you. I've been wondering, are they better off with Ratu or Sasson in the middle on the fourth line, given the need for goals right now?
Yeah, I think it could be either. Both are clicking. Like Abbotsford is clicking on all cylinders right now. And so I think it could have been either. I love Max Hasson's speed, which is obviously something you're not going to get with Ratu. But I think Ratu has probably garnered he's probably the guy I would have picked, only because he is producing now, which is what we like to see. He's now Abbotsford's leading goal scorer. He's an absolute ace in the face-off, whether you're on the right or left side. And let's be real, that is something that the Canucks need right now, is some solid face-off guys. So I think push comes to shove, I think he was probably my guy to come up. I always, me, I love me some Max Hasson, and I wouldn't have, thought otherwise if they called him up, but I think Ratu was probably the guy, especially since there is a good chance that he's probably going to be pushing for a permanent spot next year. So it's a good opportunity for him to kind of come in and see what he's got the second time around this season. So it is what it is. Obviously, I believe I saw it was on an emergency basis, so we'll see how they utilize Karlsson. But I just thought Ratu was probably going to be the guy. But
well, another guy who could drop into this lineup shortly is Tom Willander, the first-round pick of a couple of years ago at Boston University, a right-shot defenseman. They have a big Hockey East semifinal game against the University of Connecticut Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, Dave. But take me through the possibilities here with Tom Willander in terms of when his season may come to an end.
Yeah, it was a big mystery last week. I saw a lot of people on X talking about they were kind of hoping that they'd lose over the weekend so that they could potentially have him this week. That was never going to be a thing. If you go to CanucksArmy, I did have, just because in light of that, I did write a bit of a quote unquote Tom Willander roadmap. Long story short, there was no way that he was going to be signing this year, only because Boston University was just good enough to qualify for the national tournament. So regardless of the outcome last weekend, Thursday, or if they win or not on Friday, he's going to be in that regional tournament. So best case scenario for those on team get Willander to Vancouver we're looking probably around an April 1st, and that would be BU goes to the regionals and loses their single elimination game, which will be either the 28th or the 29th, I believe. So anytime after that, he's pretty much ready to pack his bags and come to the Fraser Valley or Vancouver, whoever they decide to go to. If they do win in those regionals, my apologies, that does get extended to mid-April. So the Frozen Four will happen on April 11th and 12th. So it'll be one of those dates. So
has his season been exactly what you would have wanted? Would you have wanted something a little more in any category?
There's been a lot of areas that he's very much improved. Things like his, just puck decision making, even the play with the puck, he's gotten a lot better. And for my money, I think he's had a fantastic season. I guess, there are probably people that would look at the stats and probably would like to see a little bit more from, such a hyped up prospect. But I think if you have the expectations that you should for Willander, and that's, probably a second pair guy that's, going to be a shutdown defenseman that can play on your penalty kill. I think he's been fantastic. Excuse me. He's been fantastic. He's been eating up minutes, although he's not the top go-to guy, thanks to another Hudson. He's been their shutdown guy. And I just think, for what it's worth, I think he's had a terrific season.
Abbotsford, as you mentioned, is really going right now, Dave. 5 in a row. They've moved into 4th place in the Pacific Division. What's fueling all this?
Yeah, and it's come at a good time too. They had a bit of a rough end to February. So for a while there, they were clutching and grabbing at that 7th and final spot in the Pacific Division. And they've come in red hot for March, which has really helped them out. Not only are they in 4th spot, but they're only 3 points out of 2nd spot. So we've got a home ice advantage. It's a good possibility here. So it's been a nice collective effort from everyone, to be honest. We've got all the forwards are helping, whether it's Max Hassan, Sammy Blais, who's on an AHL contract. He's looked fantastic. Recently acquired Jujhar Khaira. He's got points in 3 of the 4. We mentioned already, Atu Ratu and Linus Karlsson are both firing. But they're also getting some solid goaltending. Tolopilo just made 30 saves for his 4th shutout. Ty Young, the rookie sensation, Mr. Young, he's come out of nowhere relatively, and he's been playing lights out. So it's kind of just been a collective effort where we're finally seeing that structure that Manny Malhotra has kind of been preaching all season long. It's finally coming together, and we're kind of just seeing it come from everywhere right now.
What do you make of the graduates up at the NHL level? Guys like Lekramaki and DPD, for that matter, have been in and out of the lineup. Do you think they'd be better served coming back down to help out that Abby team, or do they need these cups of coffee right now?
Yeah, I think both two different situations, completely different situations. I think the reason why I don't mind Pedersen being up there and gaining all that experience is because I think he's being put in a position where that's where he's going to be playing most of his career. He might be able to go up to that second pair, which is great, but I think he's going to be that shutdown third line, second pair guy that, you kind of don't really notice on a night to night basis, but he's just doing all the right things. And so I love that he's up. And at this point, they didn't paper him down. So he's going to be up at Vancouver for the remainder of the season. But when it comes to Lekramaki, and, this is no secret if you've been following me, I'm all for him being in Vancouver. Obviously, that's the goal. We want him thriving in Vancouver, but it's a situational thing. We know that Lekramaki thrives in a top 6 shooting, offensive role. And so if you're not going to play him in that role, that's fine. I just don't see the need of having him up for 3 weeks when he's at the AHL level. He's top line everything. He's shooting on a whim. He's scoring goals at a ridiculous clip and just gaining that confidence, right? He's only 20 years old. For me, I just don't see when there's perfectly viable options, as we've seen with Linus Karlsson being called up today, and about 4 other perfectly fine options in Abbotsford. I just don't see the point of having him play 8 minutes a night, 12 minutes a night at most, when he could be playing 20 minutes a night, scoring at will at the AHL level, just for this year, right?
Yeah.
Lastly, from me, Dave, we mentioned this kid yesterday, Aku Koskenvo, the goaltending prospect, 5th rounder from 2021. He just finished his junior season at Harvard University. He was the guy in the playoffs for them. He's improved the goals against and the save percentage in every year there at Harvard. What are you thinking here? Is this a player they're going to sign for next year with an amateur tryout? What's the path forward here for the Canucks with this goaltending prospect?
Yeah, first of all, I was very happy to see him get the nod. It's been a bit of an up and down season. He actually lost the net to a freshman midway through the year, so it was a bit of a weird season. This was supposed to be the year where he kind of takes that starting role by the horns and goes with it. But it was nice to see him not only get the start but play extremely well. He was their backbone in that entire 3-game series. Nearly almost got it for them, but Harvard came up just short. But he's the one prospect where I can't really get a feel for what's going to happen. I've checked in with quite a few sources, and it has been a little quiet, and respectively so. If you look at the goaltending system, it's a bit convoluted right now. Who knows what's happening. We've got Thatcher Demko, potentially coming back, but maybe not. We've got Silov's kind of waiting. He's obviously that guy going up and down, and so when Thatcher does come back, Silov's comes down. What happens to Ty Young? He gets dropped down to Kalamazoo probably, even though he's been playing lights out. So it is a bit of a crowded crease. But with that said, I think he has shown enough where I think you probably want to get him inside, get some pro reps in him, and just get some pro experience and the coaching staff. I mean, being an NCAA netminder is a little bit tricky when you don't even really get any of that hands-on experience, right? Like you don't get to come to any of the training camps. You don't get to do any of that fun stuff and really get that, get to soak in that one-on-one time. So I think at the very least, just being able to kind of work hand in hand with the Vancouver Canucks system is probably beneficial. So whether that's a pro contract and he goes down to Kalamazoo perhaps and rides out the rest of the season remains to be seen. But there is also a possibility that he looks and it's just too crowded.
Yeah. So if he goes back to school, the Canucks still control his rights until August of next summer. And I mean, could have a Harvard degree when it's all said and done, which has got some value
that useful?
as well.
Is that useful?
Yeah. Maybe not in today's America, but there was a time, Blake. Would he be the starter going back, or do you think they would want to lean on this young freshman or somebody else? Like, would he be welcome back there to be a full-fledged starting goaltender?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, Ben Sherrod, I believe that's how you say his name, so I apologize. But he's had a pretty good season as a freshman, so there is that chance that they could be looking at him. But the nice thing about the NCAA is there's that transfer portal now. So he could, in theory, just look at all of his options, and that includes Vancouver, realize that it's a pretty crowded system, which it is, and just decide to go try to be that guy at some other school. With that said, Tolopilo is an unrestricted free agent this summer, so who knows what happens with his contract. His play has slipped a little bit this year, and Ty Young is pressing for that spot as well. Patera is still very much on the sidelines. Not much updates coming out of what's happened with him, so it's crowded. So there's a very good chance that he just says, you know what, I'm going to go test the transfer portal. I'm going to go be the number one guy somewhere, and maybe we'll check back this time next year.
That's a young tandem if they go Young and Koskinen.
Exactly.
My goodness. But Tolapilo's been good, but has he been good enough to? He's getting on in years.
Yep.
What is he ultimately? They have.
Yeah, he's not a spring chicken. He's 24 years old, almost 25 now. So it's crowded.
Yeah.
Coming off the shutout though, 1-0 shutout for Big Nikita. As part of this Abby winning streak. Dave, awesome stuff. You always make us smarter on Canucks prospects, so I appreciate this. Keep up the fine work at Canucks Army. Please go check Dave out and all his work. You can find him on X at Dave Hall 1289. Appreciate this. Great catching up, Dave.
Yep, not quite as smart as Aku Koskinen, Mr. Harvard, but I appreciate it.
No one in this room is.
Thanks, guys.